because it's that like your unique view and perspective on life. Other people might not see it that way, and so you've got something special to say, no matter how experienced you are or how many songs you've written. And in the early days, I wish somebody had told me to just write through the bad songs, because before you can be good at something, you have to be bad at it before you can be good at it. And there was so many songs that we started that could have been good, but we just like got 10 minutes into it and we were like, no, this is terrible. Like this is not at all what we want to write. And we just kind of abandoned so many creative avenues that we could have taken just because we didn't think it was very good.
For sure.
Yeah, I think those early days of Sheppard were very much us like trying to scramble and figure out exactly who we were. And it takes time, it's something that you plant a seed and you have to water it and wait for that plant to grow. But a lot of people, they sort of give up early because they've been watering the soil and nothing's sprouted yet, but it's still underneath.
The extinguish curve, right? It's like you do all the work, but you quit before the results.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, and the beginning is the most work you have to do.
Yeah, 100%. And that's like when you're not being validated or, you don't see the results straight away. I feel like you guys are in the most important time of your songwriting lives right now, because, this is the time when anything's possible and you've got everything that you can write about, because people always say that it takes a lifetime to write the first album and then you have about 6 months to write the second album. So you guys are in that mode right now where you've got like your lives to put something together, and it's a really exciting, really cool thing.
So that was an awesome answer, man. I appreciate that. So you said before it took you a few albums to find kind of your feet. What was the album that you think where you started to find your feet?
I think it was Kaleidoscope Eyes, our third album.
I actually think that's when we did our first gig with you, when you just put that album out.
Oh yeah,
because it was around the Com Games, right? It was just before that.
That's right. Yeah,
like 2013 or something, 2014.
That's right. Yeah. So our first album, if you listen back to it, it's called Bombs Away, and it's like a mishmash of different styles and just kind of like anything that we thought might sound good on an album. And Geronimo was actually the very last song that we'd written for this album. And we were thinking of holding it for album number 2.
This is so common. This story is so common.
Yeah, exactly.
I know you're telling the truth, but it's like such a common story. It's like the last song on the album and it's like the hit.
Exactly. And we were like, oh, should we put it on? Because it was kind of different to the rest of the album. But it was so addictive to listen to, and we just had so much fun writing it, and we were getting such a great response from it, from our team and from people we played it to, that we were like, we might as well put it on the album. And so I feel like if we had our time again, we probably should have saved it for that second album, because that second album was a bit more of that sound. And we had like the Coming Homes and the Keep Me Crazy on that album, and it would have worked really nicely together. But it was just this little like last minute addition to the album that just blew up and ended up taking us around the world. And it was a crazy whirlwind of a couple of years. 2014, 2015.
You can't split test life though, right? It's like you wouldn't know what it was like if Geronimo was on the second album.
Exactly. It might not have been the right time, and
I don't know. Could have been too late.
We were so shell shocked from what happened with Geronimo that it took us.
It was so big. I remember it was on the Subway ads as well, like the Subway food.
That was the moment. Like that Subway ad.
I remember just being like,
changed our lives.
What's going on? Subway. Okay, the block changed my life. Okay, the block started playing one of my songs that I wrote, and I was like, fucking hell, the royalties are insane.
There you go.
Yeah, you guys would have got paid bang for the Subway royalties.
It funded a tour to Europe. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
All right, let's move on. So Robbie, where are we at?
We have one question.
Okay.
So can you see that?
Actually, can you hold that question for me? I'm going to jump to questions just in 2 seconds.
Sure.
I might just quickly, I'm just going to ask you a couple more questions just about kind of the highlight stuff. And then just make sure that everyone's here, and then I'm going to hand it over to everyone to kind of have a chat with you. And I know that a few people have some specific questions to ask you. So
love that.
Let's go back to 2014, dude. So you just won your first ARIA. I think that was 2014, right? Yeah. Tell us about that whole experience, like trying to connect like with these guys. Like, you're a new band on the rise. Like, what's that like to hit the red carpet, to kind of do all that? Things are just blowing up. Can you take us back to like a moment?
Terrifying. It's like, I remember the night that Chuggy called me. Our manager is Michael Chugg, and I remember that was like, it was the week that it looked like it was going to be doing pretty well on the ARIA charts. and Sia had just released Chandelier, and it was sort of
was
like
that the same? Yeah, I remember that.
Pharrell Williams had Happy,
Yeah.
and that was like on a massive record streak of 13 weeks at #1.
Yeah.
And we were like, "Ooh, this song is doing pretty well. I wonder how we're going to go." And Michael Chugg calls me on Saturday night when the ARIA charts release, and he's like, "We've done it. We're #1 on the ARIA charts in Australia."
That's crazy.
And it was this like wave of like surreal energy. I remember I was the only one at home. I was by myself, and he called me, and I just jumped up and like screamed, because no one else was in the house, and I was just like, it was like, I don't know, however long we'd been trying to work for 6 years to get to this point, and it was just like the moment.
But to everyone else, it's day one.
To everyone else, it's
They're like,
day
oh,
one.
you're an overnight.
And after I had this moment of like, this wave of like anxiety hit me of like, oh, now it's like real. Now people know about your band, and they're going to have expectations, and you're going to have to follow this up, and there's going to be pressure, and the label's going to be calling, and all of this stuff. And then all of a sudden it was like, I had a moment of celebration, and then it was just like, oh wait, now I've actually got to show up and be a professional, like
100%.
Pop star, whatever, musician, band.
I'd dye my hair pink tomorrow.
Yeah, I had no choice. I got to do it.
I'm messing. To be fair, like I dyed my hair blonde around the same time you did. I'm just messing.
But yeah, I mean, it's you can never really prepare for those like red carpet moments. And, you know, reporters. You've got like a massive stream of reporters at the ARIAs that are just like asking you the same question over and over and over again, and you've got to give a slightly different answer. And there's all the other artists at the ARIAs who are trying to be as cool as you are, and there's like all these egos you're trying.
You don't play that anymore, right? It's just like you just make the music and you just do your thing.
Pretty much, yeah.
So this is a side note, actually. I don't know if this is a question, but I do remember watching. You did the Ska Orchestra. Was that the same year?
That's right. Yeah.
So I remember watching it and thinking, because I would have been terrified. That performance is massive, right? That's like national TV. There's also a big audience as well. But like I remember watching it back, and George is a very talented guy. He's playing, he's not that talented, but he's pretty I'll bring you straight back. But he's playing you're playing the floor toms, I think you were, right? And you were singing as well. And I remember watching it back and thinking, A, this is amazing. But B, you had your eyes closed for most of that performance. And I was curious, was that the focus of drumming and singing, or was that the focus of holy shit, this is massive, or was it everything?
So I haven't actually watched that performance back, so it's interesting to know that I had my eyes
closed for like 3 minutes. You're just like this.
It's probably a bit of both, because like trying to get the rhythm right and then just like singing. It was scrapped pretty quickly, that whole floor tom setup, because we did that for a lot of the like TV in America. Like we did Ellen DeGeneres, and I was on the floor tom.
That's a crazy one.
And then after that performance, our managers were like, I reckon it's probably best if you're not like behind the drums and just, you know, being free to run around the stage. So for Jimmy Fallon, we just kind of put me on the microphone. I was running around the crowd, and it was like, okay, that's how we need to do Geronimo from now on. It's, like,
it's kind of scary at first though, right? When you take away the instrument. Because I remember like first gigs I was doing, I had a guitar in my hands, and then when the guitar left, you kind of like, oh, okay, this is me.
It's something to hide
it's
behind.
Like literally this.
That's definitely,
Especially when it's wireless. It's like, that's all you got.
But you eventually learn that that's the fun place to be.
It's
like
amazing.
When you're feeling a little bit vulnerable, it can be nerve wracking, but at the same time, when you like have that like click in your brain as to like, oh, this is where the magic happens. When you're vulnerable, then you can like start to like actually feel a bit more free in it and play. You know, I think that's the most important thing when you're on stage, is to have that sense of play and reacting to things in real time rather than sticking to the rigidity of a rehearsed performance.
Good to rehearse, but then just.
Exactly.
Okay, a couple more, and then I'm gonna hand it over to these guys. But yeah, so I'm just looking back, like Megan Trainor, Justin Bieber, that one's massive. I actually do know a few stories from that. Keith Urban. There's some pretty big names. They're not tiny. Do you have any standout memories or learning experiences from those gigs? Like,
for sure.
Is there anything that like sticks out that you could tell?
Yeah, I mean, the Keith Urban support tour was the first big like arena tour that we'd ever done, and so that was like the most incredible learning experience. The first time we got to play arenas, and learning how Keith as a headliner was able to, you know, have this like really close relationship with an arena full of people. That was such an incredible learning experience as a showman, watching him and how he treats people as well off stage. You know, everybody on his crew, they just like, you know, he calls them by first name. There's, you know, hundreds of people. He knows them all. He eats in the catering with everybody else. Like he doesn't have a special side place. And like literally it was him and Nicole Kidman sitting at a table every night. And we're like, oh my God, what, do they know how famous they are? Like they don't have to be here. But just seeing how down to earth and a regular human being he was and how he treated people, that was like a real eye-opening experience for us. And we tried to carry that on through our career. And, you know, whenever we have a support act, we try to be as gracious to them as Keith Urban was to us. The Justin Bieber tour, I feel like that was a
I've heard this story.
It's like the polar opposite. No, but it was kind of funny to get to stadiums and realize how hard it actually is to perform to a stadium.
Like the connection side.
Not being able to really see anybody in the crowd. You're just like, it's dark and it's just such a massive space that once the lights go down, you feel like you're just performing to, it's like being on a live stream, right? It's, you know, we can see the beautiful faces here, but when you're just on a live stream on TikTok or whatever, you're just performing to a camera. You're not getting that audience
you can't
interaction.
See the faces.
Surprisingly, it's very similar in a stadium. It's hard to get that real connection with the audience. So there's a sweet spot of like arenas and theaters and
I think I don't know if you've seen it. There's a Chris Martin video talking about the same thing. Like he used to go on stage and there was a like disassociate, right? And then he started like taking a lot of time to kind of like point out, like see the person, and he would try and connect with the person and sing to an individual person, like one at a time. And I remember that carried with me quite a lot once we started playing a lot more shows, and I started thinking about that a lot more, because it is kind of like once you play to like 1,000 people plus, like it is just like a bunch of heads, as opposed to like if it's just like 100 or less, you can kind of just see everybody.
Well, those bigger stages and festivals are the same thing, where there's like a massive gap between the front of the stage and the first person in the crowd. Because I mean, in the UK, they do this thing called the Golden Circle, which is, do you know what that is?
No.
So you play some festivals and they've got like the first 50 meters of the field reserved for like VIPs and golden ticket members. So you've got this real disconnect where, you know, there's 10,000 people in the crowd, but there's like at least 100 meters of gap.
That's the problem like, with Suncorp and stuff, right? Like when you do like the pre-game shows, it's like you're in the middle of it. There's like, it's so far, the stand is so far away, and you kind of feel silly. But you have to put on a massive show because it's like a full stadium. But they're so far away that it's like a weird experience.
It feels like, can they even see me? Like, are we here? Are they there? It's a weird disconnect for sure.
I got some more questions, but I think I might actually hand it over to these guys. We can always come back. Let me just share this here. So Robbie, how are we looking there?
We're looking good. I think we've got a couple of questions there.
Can you set that screen up for me? Just so I can see that properly. Can you just set, if you can split screen that'd be amazing. Now, if you guys want to ask some questions, can you, because we can't see you all on the screen, can you just press there's a raise hand button at the bottom as well. Just so, yes, that's amazing. So raise your hand or drop it in the chat. We'll kind of have a look. Rob will keep an eye out for that too. And we'll let you guys kind of on one by one in just a second. We're just tweaking a few things here. So how are we looking there, Robbie? Good. Okay. So let's have a look. Can you open the queue for me? All right. What do we got there? People that have raised their hands. How do we see them?
So cool.
Yeah. Can you see the raised hands? Yeah. You can go back. I think you can see if you go back up, you should be able to see the people that raised their hands. Oh, it's like, is that everyone? No, go to raised hands. Yeah. Okay, so Christy, is that right? Do you want to, Rob, do you want to let her unmute her microphone?
Yeah, sure. All right, just give me a moment. Sorry, this part wasn't well thought out.
You weren't ready for this one? How dare you? How dare you?
You see it there? Oh, there it is.
Yeah, just unmute. Yep, there we go. Turn on microphone. Beautiful. Okay. Oh, thanks, guys. Yeah, we're idiots. Okay, cool. So where is it? Christy, did you want to jump on your mic and ask Jules a question for us?
Hello.
Hey,
Christy.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. I was just wondering, how did you initially get your music out? You know, either obviously you're doing maybe playing in pubs and whatever, and then wrote your album, and then where did you go from there?
Yeah, so we actually spent a lot of time writing and recording in secret and not like trying to get it out there at first, because we wanted to make sure that we were producing songs that we were proud of, and like we had to get through all of the muddy bad songs like I was mentioning earlier. And then when we finally had like an EP's worth of songs that we were like, this is something that we're happy to put out there, we started contacting managers and, you know, putting it up on the SoundClouds, and MySpace was a thing back then.
Yeah, I was going to ask if it was MySpace.
trying to get it out,
George.
Yeah, I know. I'm older than I look. That's why I dye my hair. It would just be gray otherwise. But it was a long slog of just sending it around to a million different people and getting no responses back, and, you know, feeling like
sorry, like who?
Like managers and agents and promoters and festival organizers, and we were just kind of like sending the link around to whoever, and we just weren't hearing back.
A lot of people as well, not just a lot.
And we actually we got our first response from a radio station in Portland, Oregon, of all places in the United States, before anywhere in Australia. And so we went over there and we did a show for their Christmas ball. And then we kind of did this big show. One of our songs, Let Me Down Easy, made it onto their radio show. And they invited us over, and we were lucky enough to get the opportunity to go and perform to this sold out room of 1,500 kids. We filmed it, and we put it on social media, and through that, and there's this funny thing about Australia, I'm not sure why, but we don't take our own artists seriously unless they make it overseas or they're on Triple J. It's like one of the two. For some reason, it's just like a thing that you need to go overseas to make it, and then Australia will be like, oh, they're cool, they're doing stuff. Yeah, instead of it just being like, all right, we're gonna sort of bring you on from and support you because you're Australian artists. So we did this show, and then we got contacted by a manager who is still our manager today, Michael Chugg.
Oh wow. Yeah,
through his connections, we were able to get onto more TV and more festivals, and it just like slowly but surely started to build, and until we could make it our full-time job.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you.
Of course,
you get a solid answer. You get a solid answer from George.
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
Not messing around, George. This is that's your camera there too, by the way.
Okay, sorry, I'm like looking at you on the screen.
So if you want to look deep in their eyes, look this way.
Okay. Camera 101.
Souls. All right, so Robbie, who else have we got there? Raised hands.
Next,
we got Catherine.
Yep. So we've done
Yep.
One.
Oh, that was yep.
Can you see that on your end?
Yes.
Saunders, is it?
So just drop your you can remove the raised hand after you spoke as well. No, we just spoke to Christy, so it's Catherine now.
Okay.
Catherine E.
Can you guys hear me?
Is that Catherine?
We certainly
Yeah.
can.
Yeah, great.
Awesome. There she is.
Yeah.
Hello, Catherine. Welcome to the show.
Hi. Thank you very much.
Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, cool. I'm from Darwin, and it's about to have a massive storm here, so hopefully it holds off. Yeah, so I dropped the first question in the chat, but before we get to that, just really quick. So was Michael Chugg just one of the people that you sent your music to and hoping he would get back to you?
That's correct. Yeah.
Cool.
We sent it. It was like a shotgun theory where we just like sent it to any managers or agents or whoever we knew of. We had people that gave us some contacts, and we actually sent it to Chuggy a couple of times with no response. And through a mutual friend who he was actually our music teacher in primary school. His name was Baruka Tao. He used to be a session musician for like Yothy Indie and a lot of other Australian artists that Michael Chugg used to promote. So he knew he had like an in, and I think he sort of like nudged him and was like, hey, these guys are trying to get in contact with you. And I think eventually to just shut us up, he was like, bring him into the office. They can do a quick acoustic set for like a little audition. And so we flew down to Sydney and like wore our nice clothes, our Sunday best, and we went into Michael Chugg's office, and we had a very nerve-wracking couple of minutes where he brought his entire office into the main area, and we thought we were just going to be performing for him, but he threw us in the deep end, and like all of the Chugg Music office was there just watching us, like with these very stern, judgmental industry faces. And we had to do a bit of an audition. And then we got home, we didn't hear anything from him. And then he, like, I think it was about a month later, he's like, I'm going to be in Brisbane. I'm coming to that show that you got on. Let's see how you perform. And so we did a full show, and he came, and then we sat down afterwards. He goes, all right, well, now that I know you can perform, we're in business. And that was the start of it. And we're like, oh, okay, we got a manager now. And that was the start of us being able to tour internationally. And he was able to get us on a bunch of different shows, festivals. We went to South Africa and the UK and America, and it was a bit of a whirlwind from there.
Yeah, that's amazing. I had the pleasure of meeting him up here in Darwin just earlier in the year. And he's quite a formidable person. That's pretty hard to talk to if you go in cold. So, man. Yeah.
No,
you guys did really well.
He's definitely, his reputation is scarier than the man himself. He's a big teddy bear.
Yeah.
When you get to know him.
Sorry, the more to the songwriting was, do you write as a group, or are you the main songwriter?
So Amy and I are the main songwriters in the band, but we'll collaborate with people all the time. So, I mean, Amy and I will write songs together. And then we'll go to LA and do a songwriting trip where it's kind of like you spend 3 weeks doing like a intensive songwriting boot camp almost, where you're just with different people every single day. And then it's again, with the shotgun theory, you just like try and work with as many different people. And then you like cherry pick the ones that felt good or you got a good result out of. And then we usually brought them back to Australia to work on more stuff. So it was kind of like a recruitment of other songwriters. But I think it always works best if one person has the vision. So we usually go into a songwriting session. Amy and I will spend the night before just kind of building up some springboard ideas where it's like a melody or a quick hook or a guitar line or just something to get you going. But it usually works best if one person has a vision of what they want this song to be, and everybody sort of rallies around that and helps to collaborate and build that idea. When too many people are trying to drive the ship, I feel like it can get a little bit confusing and a bit disjointed, and the song can sort of lose its identity. And it very much, it's not impossible, but it just becomes harder to find that like rubber onto the road moment where it's like, okay, we get the vision of this song. We get the concept. We know what the final thing needs to be.
It dilutes into the mediocrity almost. It's just like pleasing everyone, and it's just a piece of shit now.
Exactly. Yeah. But when one person has the initial idea and then they are the captain, nothing to do with percentages or royalties. It's always evenly split, but one person always has that clear vision of what they want the song to be.
Great. Thank you so much.
It was a great question. Thank you.
It is also very different group writing and solo writing as well. The group writing, you can get away with a lot less preparation and just bounce off each other.
Yeah.
Whereas I think solo writing, sometimes it does require a bit more discipline if you really want to get it finished, because it's just 100%. You in a room.
I know.
Right. And it's way more effort to get the like initial momentum than being like, what are you thinking? What am I thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Who else we got, guys? Oh, P.S. And then also George begs me to write with him as well quite a lot too. So
we'll get it. We're going to happen.
I'm a busy guy.
We'll get it happening one of these days. I'll get you in the room.
What do we got, guys? Sean? Robbie, you there still?
Yeah.
You alive?
Yeah, I'm alive.
Right.
He's gone. All right, it's just me and George.
Sean,
can you unmute your mic, my friend?
Hey, George.
G'day, Sean. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good, man. So good that you're doing this, and love your story and everything. Very cool. If I message you on Instagram and pitched a song to you, would you reply?
Depends on if the song was any good. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I mean, I always listen. I'll always listen to the song. We don't usually perform songs that we haven't been a part of or written ourselves. But if someone sends me a song, I'll always give it a listen for sure.
Yeah,
100%.
No, that's all good. I had a pretty simple question. Do you prefer to write songs in third person or first person?
That is a great question, because there are two different schools of thought with songwriting. And I think people always liken songwriting to being this like autobiographical, almost like a therapy for your own, personal life and your emotions and trying to make sense of things in your life. But, and we do a lot of that in Sheppard, but also, you can write in the third person and write a story just like you're writing a piece of fiction, like Taylor Swift does it a lot. A song we just wrote the other day, has nothing to do with my life, but it was just like something that you want to write about, like you're telling a story, you know, it's a piece of fiction, and that's totally okay as well. But a lot of people might look at that and be like, oh, it's inauthentic, or it's like you're not a real artist. But it's about being a writer in general and writing stories, telling stories, whether that's about your own life, or if it's about something that you've completely made up, or if it's about you're putting yourself into your friend's shoes, for instance. You know, I think there's no rules with it, but we more often than not will write in the first person about our own lives. But that's not to say that you can't just make up a story and have some fun with it.
Because there's been great songs in both like ways of writing.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think there's any rules. At the end of the day, if it's an engaging, interesting story that you're telling, it doesn't matter if it's in the first person or if you're writing about someone else.
Yeah.
If you're writing it as well, it's highly likely that it's like a veil almost. There's some degree of like truth somewhere along the lines. It's very unlikely that all of it is just completely made up.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? So
there's a song we started last week called Roller Coaster. And it's like, loving you, it's like I'm running on a roller coaster. And I played it to my wife, and she's like, what is that supposed to mean? And I was like, no, it's not about you. It's not about our relationship. It's just like, it's a fun little hook.
It could be about songwriting as well, because songwriting is a roller coaster.
Exactly.
So there's probably some resonance in there where you do love something that is like a roller coaster.
That's right.
I'm not saying that's true, but it's quite possible.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of songwriting and art in general, is that you make your own meaning out of it. And something that I've written that makes sense to me in this certain way might look completely different to somebody looking at it from a different perspective, and they create their own meaning out of it. And that's the beauty of songwriting, I think, and beauty of art in general.
That was beautiful, George.
Eloquence.
Awesome.
Thanks for the question, Sean.
Yeah, that was good, man. That was good. All right, Adriana, unmute your microphone.
Hi.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. Amazing. I remember seeing you on the Justin Bieber concert, and I was like super little and like
That's
super
cool, man.
excited, and literally had the best time dancing to your music. So thank you so much. And
Oh,
thank you
you're
for your
one of the
time.
4 people that came early. That's nice. Thank you.
I was not going to miss Justin Bieber for a second. So, but also I was so glad that I got to see you that night. But my question is, what's your favorite way to kind of produce music? Do you have a software that you like to use, or kind of like some sounds or instruments that you particularly like to use?
Yeah, definitely. I'm a Logic man. I love to use Logic. Well, I started on GarageBand, and I feel like it was the next logical step, mind the pun. But
you can leave now.
Thanks. That's me done, guys. But yeah, I like to work late at night. That's when I feel like I'm most creative. And it's sort of where the world feels still and quiet, and no one's kind of knocking on the door or messaging me, and I can just sort of like really focus in and spend what feels like an eternity coming up with ideas. And yeah, I'll just sit there and I'll find a cool drum loop or like a piano idea or a sound. Like a lot of inspiration for me comes from different sounds and patches. Like I'll buy a new like keyboard patch and then just sort of cycle through the sounds, and depending on how the sound or of like a bass feels, that'll inform me of like a different style or something that inspires me to sort of pull on a different thread than I usually would. And then I'll sort of come up with the melody around that. But a lot of songs for me personally, it starts as gibberish, and like I just kind of try to make sense of the gibberish.
We'll get into that next week in melody.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's some things we're going to unroll this.
Yeah. So you know, like I said before, a lot of songs can be autobiographical, but when you're in a songwriting session and you're just trying to have some fun, a lot of the time it starts with the melody and like figuring out what the song wants to be before yeah, it's got sort of like a Rubik's Cube that you're trying to solve almost. Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for a great question.
All right.
We're gonna touch more on that next week too, guys. When we do melody, we're gonna kind of reorder some things, because that's a really great point.
Well, like I always often liking it to just to continue on. Sorry, it's like being a potter. Someone that makes pottery.
I just want you to struggle through this.
Yeah. What are their names?
You better finish it.
A Harry Potter. So you start with just like a clump of clay, and it doesn't look like anything. It's not nice on the eyes, but you slowly start to meld it and you add the detail and you carve into it and you like, oh, that piece doesn't work. So you cut it off and you stick it somewhere else until you eventually get the finer details into it. And that's kind of what I liken songwriting to be, is like you always start with this like blob of something that just like, and black and blue, you know, it could be something like that, that you then slowly start to meld into something beautiful. And yeah, you add the details into it. So yeah, that's kind of my metaphor for songwriting, being a potter. A potterist.
I got a lot of refunds coming tomorrow. Like, what is this rubbish? No, no, it's good. It's good.
Is there one last question there?
One last one? Yep. Go for it.
Jacinta.
Hi, it's Nanda.
Amanda? Oh, yep.
Nice to meet you, George, and great to see you, Parker. Last week was great.
Thank you so much.
Honestly, I went away and I had a lot of retrospective work to do on like poems and songs that I've done for years. But my question I posed on the Facebook post for you, George, was what was the motivation and the backstory of Geronimo? I love that song. And I just am so curious of what it means to you and the group, and, you know, what motivated you to write that song?
Yeah, great question. I mean, Geronimo is one of those like lightning in a bottle moments that, you know, we've tried to figure out exactly how it was done. And we've spent like years of our lives, like with a microscope on it going like, what is it about this song that is so like engaging and addictive and electric? And if we can just put that into this song too, then we can just, you know, have a formula.
The Fibonacci sequence in the chorus. It's 1, 1, 2.
It's a song of fractals. Yes. No, it actually started in a very dingy club in Melbourne. We were playing a place called the Ding Dong Lounge, which is no longer in existence, sadly. But it was about 2 minutes before we went on stage. Our guitarist Jay was backstage with the acoustic guitar, just kind of warming up, and he walked through the DJ booth, which was behind the stage, and it made this like really boomy, like stompy sound under his boots. It was like a specific type of wood that he just like was like, oh, this is cool. Like it feels like, and he called Amy and I in. And he was just like, just started playing the Geronimo riff, like the intro, just like,
and then Can You Feel It?
And then really quickly, I just pulled out the phone and I had the, can you feel it?
I knew that was going to be the first lyric.
Back again. And that was it.
Yeah.
And it was like, quickly we had to go on stage. And so we just had this voice memo. And then we were back in Brisbane. We were all sitting around the table. Jay was staying with us at the time. And this is before, I think Let Me Down Easy had come out, but we were like very, very young, very green as songwriters. And we were sitting around the dinner table just being like, what are we going to write next? We're going through the list, and then was like, oh, like, remember this idea? And then brought it up again. And there was something magnetic about it that we were like, yeah, this is fun. Let's spend some time digging into this. And no joke, within 2 hours, we had the finished version of Geronimo.
That's great. Yeah.
And it was like Amy, Jay, and I working together in this very like seamless way where all three of us had very equal contribution to the hooks. And there was just a million different good ideas that came out of that one session. And we recorded the whole thing. And we decided to make it about sort of taking this leap of faith and reconnecting with a long lost relationship. That was the idea of the song, but it had a much broader universal appeal as just like making that leap, you know, not being afraid to take a risk and to sort of give yourself that confidence to make that leap of faith.
That would be the core message from last week that we're talking about, guys. There's something strong to write off, right? Like you need some, like the melody is different, but once you're trying to get the idea going, you need some strong core message lyrically to jump off.
That's right.
Otherwise you're just writing gibberish.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, actually, we're going to analyze your song Daylight in just a little bit as well.
Oh God.
Yeah.
All right.
You can save face. You won't be.
Yeah. Here's what not to do, guys.
That's awesome. Thanks so much for sharing that. I was talking to my voice coach, and I was explaining that's what I thought it was about, relationships and jumping headfirst and summertime and all those things about Brisbane kids and what we do. So thank you for explaining. I'll let you go on to someone else, but look forward to talking more.
Thanks for the question.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right, Robbie, where are we at? We'll take one or two more, and then we'll have to wrap because George has been here for a while.
I don't mind.
Just into that.
Yep. Yep. Jacinta?
Hi,
Hello.
How are you, Jacinta?
Hey.
I'm fantastic. How are you two?
Good, good.
Deep in the soul over here, George.
I'm all coffeeed up.
So I was gonna ask, how important is knowing how to do good production as a songwriter, and how do you like get into that? Because I feel like as a songwriter, the lyrics and the melody and the chords are fine, but once it gets into the production stuff, I don't know how to draw inspiration or like where to start when it comes to production.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is, you know, you don't have to be very good. I mean, look at Parker. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
That's it. The podcast is over.
No, the all that you really need to be able to do is like convey the idea, convey the vision with the production, because you know there's always somebody else that you can go to and like can help you realize that vision. But pretty much the only song that I've produced for Sheppard that was like I was the finisher is a song called Dance on the Sun. And that was just because I had such a clear vision for what I wanted that song to be. And I had the skills finally to be able to put it together and mix it and actually bounce it out and put it on a record with confidence.
It's a really different skill. It's an entirely different skill.
It is. So, but as a songwriter, I don't know if it's like, if you're not good at production, it's not going to hinder
It's
your
not going to affect your
songwriting at all.
No.
If anything, it's just another tool in your belt to be able to convey your vision to another producer, or you know, just to be able to make a demo that you can then send around to people. But it doesn't have to be like a finished, you know, well mixed, really crisp production. But in terms of like using it for inspiration, I think that's really helpful. So being able to get like different sounds and knowing how to have you know how to install like a new VST. Do you know what a VST is?
That's what she's at. Yeah, that's my point.
A virtual instrument. So you can like go onto like a website, nativeinstruments.com, and then you know you download or you buy a new exciting instrument that you don't know what it sounds like, but you know it might give you some sort of like information that you didn't have before in terms of your creativity. And I think that's like where you can really use it for your songwriting. But don't worry if you're not very good at production or mixing, that's not important for songwriting.
Do you play an instrument, Jacinta?
Yeah, I play the piano and the guitar, and normally like
that's all you need.
A producer to help, they're like, oh, what are you thinking in terms of production? And I feel like I just never have an idea. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't know what to
think about the music that resonates with you. What do you listen to that moves you? And like what when you're listening to those songs, like what inspires you that you feel like I would love to write songs like this? And that's probably the production you should chase. And then just give him those directives of, if you give him enough songs, he won't be copying a song, but he'll be listening for like, what is it you like about this song? Like what is it about? Let's go through like when we start production, we usually go through like 20 minutes to an hour of just like listening to tunes of like, what are you into at the moment? And if you start listening to the songs, like the producer will listen, they'll go, what snares are they using? What hi-hats did they use? What bass lines are they using? They're not listening to the song as a, hey, we're going to copy this. They're trying to figure out like, what's the DNA of the music you like?
It's a reference.
Yeah.
And we'll use references for every single song that we do. Like there'll be a cool, you know, the sound of the drums in a Chapel Rowan song, or like there's something that you always reference. Like whenever you're writing a song, you're like, I kind of want it to feel a bit like this song, but maybe also with a little bit of the DNA of that song. And imagine if those two songs had a baby, what would that feel like? And then you know, everything is a remix. Like with creativity, I feel like you can't feel bad about, you know, referencing a song or feeling like you're copying something. It's all just like
you gotta mash it.
Input into your creativity, and something else new comes out. So yeah, I feel like don't shy away from using references.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Good question.
Great question.
Awesome. We got one more, Robbie.
Yeah, last one, which is Curtis.
Curtis.
All right.
Curtis Yates.
Where is he?
How are you, mate?
Wait, I think we did that one before, didn't we?
Oh, did we?
I don't remember speaking to Curtis.
No.
Hey guys, I haven't spoken to you guys yet.
Oh, there he is. Hey, don't you dare cut Curtis off, Rob. How dare you? You're fired.
Yep. Nah. How are we?
Good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Well, I think a few of the questions that I wanted to ask before you've talked about, which is really good because I've learned heaps so far. from what you've said, but I'm working on demos, and just with the demo, when you guys try to send out demos, how do you guys go about that? Like, I know it's very frustrating trying to get your stuff out there and then no one hears it. Like, how did you just persistence or?
Yeah, it's a lot of, it's like, it's essentially being a salesman, you know. A lot of people have to knock on a lot of doors before they finally get that sale. And it's literally, it can be discouraging, but it is the only way, because you need to just be okay with rejection for a long time, and not feel discouraged about it, because it happens to every single person. I mean, Ed Sheeran, you know, he was writing and recording and performing for years and years, and nobody gave two hoots about Ed Sheeran. And then all of a sudden one song takes off, and then it's like, once you've got a little bit of momentum and traction, people want to be involved. Like, people want to, you know, jump on a rocket ship. You know, people can see it happening, and it's not until that first moment of an indication that it's climbing, no one's going to care. And you've just got to be confident in yourself and your ability, and, you know, like your own music. Because if you don't believe in yourself, then who else is going to? And then you've just got to not let that rejection affect you, and just, you know, be able to kind of keep knocking on doors. And, you know, we knocked on hundreds and hundreds of doors before Michael Chugg responded to us.
That your music piece, though, is probably the most important.
Say again?
Your music. So it's like, if you're trying to write a hit song, you're like, I'm going to write a song for radio. You're not. You're not. You're going to write a terrible song. Yeah. But if you like the music you're writing, you'll probably write some good songs at some point.
And I can tell you right now that there's been a million songs that we've tried to write as a radio hit, and it never works. It always has to be like something that's coming from you, that you genuinely want to listen to. Because when you have fans, they've subscribed to your taste in music. So that's how you can be an artist and, like, you know, move through different genres and evolve your sound, and you know, you still retain your fan base, because they're not actually subscribed to your music, they're subscribed to your musical taste. And so if you like it, then chances are your fans are going to like it too.
Is there a way, like you said back before, the managers, and is there anywhere in particular that we should all send our demos to, or is it just anywhere, just on social media or like websites, or
I mean,
out there?
A lot of
spamming. You got to do research to the right people.
Yeah, I think a very effective way is to reach out to publishers, because a lot of people get their songs from publishers. So other artists and, you know, movies and TV shows will send out a brief to publishers being like, hey, we're looking for a song that's sort of up tempo, euphoric, has like a really cool beat to it, for this Subway commercial, for example. And then the publishers will find, like, through their list of contacts and songs, how they might be able to fit the song with a certain thing. So I feel like if you reach out to publishers, that would be a pretty good first step. Not a lot of people think about publishers.
Yeah, no, because I've been trying everything, managers, I've even tried a bit of public, like reaching out to publishers, but I'm finding I'm not very tech savvy. I'm not just saying this as an excuse, but I'm a bit old fashioned. And I'm not very tech savvy, so I've got no social media following, and I'm finding it very, very difficult to get in. I have an EP out at the moment, but it's just trying to break in. It's just, you know, and I'm just going to be persistent and just keep going, you know. But I'm just finding it very, very hard. But that's life.
Yeah, it is the hardest profession in the world to get into, for sure. And I think
it's a cruel mistress.
It is. Like, even for us nowadays, like, you know, I'm reaching out to people and not getting responses, even at my level. It's like, you've just got to be okay with who you are as an artist, and not worry about getting your validation from other people, and just kind of put cool things out into the world. And eventually, I think it'll, you know, the cream rises to the top, and I feel like at some point people are going to sort of start listening and be like, hey, this is cool. And I know you said you're not tech savvy, but it really is. It is the be all and end all of the music industry nowadays, unfortunately. But it also is a good thing, because now there's no middleman. You don't need a label. You don't need managers. It is just you and that phone in your pocket talking to your audience. And more than ever, it's become really clear that your fans and the interaction that you have and the connection that you have with the people that listen to your music is the most important relationship that you'll have. It's paramount over anything else. So I think, you know, really focusing on building your your brand on social media, no matter how good or bad you are at it, you just got to work at it and get better at it, because that little supercomputer in your pocket is your ticket to the entire planet of people. And you don't need anybody else at this point. It's like labels anyway are just sort of waiting for songs to take off on social media, and they're just going to like cherry pick.
They're just banks, literally just banks for artists at this point.
Pretty much. But what a lot of people don't realize is if you have a song that goes viral on TikTok and you're just a first time artist, and you've written this song, you put it on TikTok and it's blowing up, and you've got labels coming at you going, hey, this is going really well, you don't know how to follow it up, or like you need our help. You don't need their help. You've already done the thing that they're trying to you've got the audience, you've got the eyeballs, you've got the attention, and that's all that the labels are trying to do.
It's becoming more and more as well.
Yeah,
they're actually looking for the social media movement now, and you're like, well, then what do we need you for? Just the cash flow.
Exactly.
You've already got the movement.
Exactly. So now I would even argue that you don't need to send your music to anyone else. It's just nowadays
do this independent now.
Yeah. Put it on TikTok, keep putting, like, every day, just put something on TikTok or on Instagram. And it can be like a bit disheartening as a creative to just be like, now you're a full-time content creator. And I went through a whole period of my life last year where I was just like, it's ruined. The whole dream is dead, because now you have to like figure out
playing a different game.
Yeah, you're playing a completely different game. But if you can switch the thinking to, no, now you have the power. There's nobody else that can get in the way of you and your audience. That's a really powerful, really, really powerful tool. And if you can get good at that, then you don't even need a manager or a label to get involved. You just, you have that relationship with the fans, and that's it.
It's a different world.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Guys, George has been dropping bombs here today. Oh my God.
He's in the thing of that?
Depends which country you're in.
George is bombing right now.
Oh, that's good. All right. I don't think I got a whole bunch more questions, but I don't think I'm going to ask him, man, because you've been here for a while, and I really. Okay. Can I ask you maybe one or two more?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So let's have a look. So one I do want to ask, just in case these guys do writing groups. I know a lot of them probably are writing by themselves, but let's just say that they do write with some other people. How do you handle criticism and feedback in group songwriting sessions?
So if you're in a group songwriting session, I think the most important thing is to maintain a safe space, because like being creative is scary, and you're putting ideas out there, and other people in the room might have different ideas. It can be scary to be like, hey guys, what about this idea?
Putting it out there is freaking terrifying.
Yeah, and it is. And we've been in songwriting sessions where like I've put an idea out there. I remember being like, oh, how cool would it be if we were to put like a children's choir in this section and have them sing along? And one of the other songwriters is like, that would be so lame. And I was just like, oh man.
And it's like, I'm not validated anymore.
I had to leave the session. Like I was so like floored by that sort of interaction. I think the most important thing is to be collaborative and to like give every idea a moment to be heard and to try it out. And if it doesn't work, then, you can revisit it. But, it's important to be like very generous with your people skills, I guess. It's like you need people skills to be in a songwriting room with other people that are trying to be creative and trying to be vulnerable. And, it can be particularly tough when you're doing a songwriting session with people that you've never met before. But usually, like if we're in LA, we'll go for a coffee first and just kind of meet the person. The first hour is just like hanging out and talking and getting to know one another. And then an idea might just come out of nowhere, and then you sort of start pulling on that thread and you go from there. But yeah, I think being collaborative, it takes a lot of resilience in case somebody in the room isn't on that same page. But yeah, again, having the confidence in yourself and having like that ability to be water off a duck's back. If somebody doesn't like an idea, or it doesn't matter, you've got to go in without ego, and just like knowing. It's like the balance between self-confidence and ego, there's something in the middle there.
I think, have you ever worked with James? I don't think you have, right? James Angus, the producer? I don't think you've worked with him.
I don't think so, no.
Yeah, he's in next week. He's great because his philosophy is always like, he's like, we'll give it a go. And then once we give it a go, we'll see if we can beat it.
Right.
And so it's always like every idea is on the table. We'll try it, and then we'll try and beat it. So it's like no one feels like scared, but like it's a great, he works, it's a really great way to work. But I do remember working, I worked on one song with some guys in Melbourne, and I came up with the chorus and then the tag melody as well. So the chorus and the tag, and I think in the tagline, one of the producers, it was like, oh, I really like this, but I don't like that part. And I'm just like, that is the part. That is the soul of the idea.
Yeah.
Like, and you got to take that criticism as well and be like, that's just their flavor. That's just their opinion, right? It's not right or wrong. And it's also not like that I'm more right than him or vice versa. That song actually did really well. Does that mean that he was right or I was right? No. That was just the idea, and we just followed that idea to completion, and that was it.
I think it's always, it's about serving the song, serving the music, rather than like your own ego as a songwriter or a creative. It's really important to sort of put that aside and just try and make the best song that you can together. So yeah, it can be hard to get to that point. And like not be too offended or like too precious about an idea, or it does take a bit of time to learn that. But I think at the end of the day, the less it's hard, because you want to care about it, but you also don't want to care too much just in case.
You're the golden goose, right? Not the golden egg.
Exactly.
Right. And that is such a freeing thought. You're like, I'll have another good idea.
Yeah.
Right. Because you always do.
Yeah.
That's the part of being a songwriter. Like, you're just a songwriter. You write cool melodies and you write cool lyrics. You know? 2 more questions then. All right. So what's the most important lesson you've learned about songwriting? I'm really getting deep into the songwriting roots right now. Yeah. All the sessions that you've done. We've got some love hearts there. Thanks, Priscilla. Appreciate that. You guys are enjoying it, man.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. I feel like the most important thing I've learned as a songwriter is that, and this seems silly, but there are no rules. Like even in pop music, where there seems to be a structure, you know, like Max Martin has a specific thing, like it's mathematical, and you've got to hit certain things like verse, pre-chorus, chorus.
But he breaks them all the time.
Yeah, you know, they're made to be broken. And I think as long as the musical idea is interesting and engaging to listen to, that's the key. The structure doesn't matter. The lyrics almost don't matter. It's like, first and foremost, you have to make this melody and the music engaging and addictive to listen to. And it's like, you know, Hooked on a Feeling, right? That song by Dr. Hook. I'm hooked on a feeling. And then that next line is like a brass, I think it's trumpets going like, ba, ba, da, ba. That's just as important as
100%,
the lyrics and the melody.
Yeah.
If you didn't have that section to listen to and keep the ear engaged, after that, you know, the song wouldn't have been a hit. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There are all these little tools that you can use. You guys do really follow, even if you're not counting it, you're definitely listening to your songs. There's definitely a lot of melodic math in there. Like, you break it down. It's very hooky.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's specific rules to follow, and it's just about you being as experimental and as creative as you can be. And you can always reel it back in. You know, you can always, like I said before with the clay, you can always cut that bit off and stick it somewhere else, or you can keep on rewriting it and reworking it. But that's the most important thing, is to just be free creatively and remember that there are no rules.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, awesome. All right, guys. So, George, you gonna say that there? I got one last question for you, Robbie. I think my screen is frozen.
It looks okay to me.
Check that overlay for me.
Yep.
That overlay seems. Let me just go over here. Yeah, that one's frozen just there, but we're good over here. Okay, so if you can check that for me. But anyways, one last question, Mr. George Sheppard.
Yes, sir. Uh-oh. It's like a 60 minutes.
George, would you be opposed to signing a copy of Vocal Power so I can gift it to one of my amazing Hooked on Songwriting students here today?
Absolutely.
What a legend, guys.
I was expecting a hard-hitting question. Where were you on the night of August 5th, 2016?
All right, put your John Hancock in there. Slap it on in, buddy. Slap it on in. We're going to give this away to someone very, very soon. Okay, and this one's for you too, just as a gift. You're an amazing singer already.
Thank you. That's really kind.
Yeah, no worries, dude. Maybe awesome. What should we say? Maybe just a nice, inspiring message to them on their songwriting journey.
Oh, like a final word?
Yeah, but don't put a name on it because we're going to give it away.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, as in write it here. Yeah.
Yeah, right there. Right there.
I thought you meant like a final word here. Believe in yourself. You are good.
Write that in the book. There you go.
Yeah.
Awesome, guys. Is that camera? Yeah, there we go. We're back in action. You guys have been amazing. Thanks for joining us today. We still got we got some work to do, so we're gonna get moving because I gotta teach you guys a few things still here too. What did you got there?
I said, believe in yourself because you're awesome.
That's pretty cool. Okay, guys. So, how's that? Nice big John Hancock, buddy.
Bang.
Beautiful. Believe in yourself. Can you see that? There it is. Signature. Oh wait, Robbie. Yeah, there you go. Boom. Look at that. Okay, so can you guys please show some love in the chat for the amazing George Sheppard for taking his time out today to come and talk to us at the 2024 Hooked on Songwriting Bootcamp. You're a legend, man.
Oh man,
I appreciate you, dude.
I appreciate you too. Appreciate you guys.
Throw some love in the chat. Throw some love in the chat. There we go. Awesome.